Yes, guys, how's it going? So clearly, I'm back in England. I've left Dubai. What I'm about to share, I thought I would do this video just before I left Dubai, but didn't have the time, doing it here instead. So I thought I'd just kind of set up nicely. Now, before we get into everything, this chair squeaks a lot. So if you hear some crazy squeaks, it's the chair. There you go. That's how we do it. Anyway, how's it going? So, as you saw in my last videos, I was in Dubai recently, and this one thing really occurred to me, like this one insight. And this is something that I've been aware of now, very, very aware of for this entire year. But it really, really hit me when I was in Dubai. What I'm about to share is something that I wish, this video basically, I wish I had seen this video about 4 years ago, maybe 3 or 2 years ago, and it would have really, really helped from a mindset perspective inside business. And let me tell you how it came about before I share like the thing. So it came about from being in Dubai. So about 4 years ago, I went to Dubai for the first time. As I said in one of the last videos, went to Dubai, went for a 3-day mastermind, packed for a week and didn't leave for a year. Ended up living there for 2 years in a row. When I went to Dubai 4 years ago, I was making the most money I had ever made, and pretty much at that time, more money than I ever thought I'd ever make. It wasn't crazy. It was 6 figures. It wasn't crazy though. It was just like that at that time where my mind was, where my mindset was, it was all I kind of had ever envisioned for myself. 2 years later, I left Dubai. And around that time, or at least a little bit after that, I was making the littlest amount of money that I'd made in a very, very, very long time. Because during Dubai and my stay there, I shifted my offer. I made some bad decisions when it came to business, and I had like 2 years of terrible, terrible business. Now, 4 years later, when I went back to Dubai, just for like a 2-week trip, I'm making way more money than ever, and back on top again and going back upwards. Now, this isn't all about money. What I'm about to share goes into everything, but I think the money is a really good way to be able to kind of illustrate this. So I went, more money than ever, left, the least amount of money, went back, the most amount of money, and it's still going, right? Made from my business, obviously. And the insight's this: in this game, nothing is linear. When you're trying to build your coaching business, when you are, grinding every single day, understanding that nothing is linear, that the growth of your business is not going to be linear, it's not going to be a straight line, is huge. And if there's anything that I learned during that kind of phase, or at least over even this year and the last kind of 4 years, it's that nothing is linear and nothing is permanent. And let me tell you why this is actually important, because right now you're probably listening, you might even be almost kind of clicking off and you're thinking, who cares? Show me a new funnel to use, blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you why understanding that nothing is linear is huge. So when I first arrived in Dubai 4 years ago, and I was making as much money as I had ever made at that time, and my business, although I'd been growing it up until now for at least 5 years, and for a very, very long amount of time, I was like barely making anything like 2K per month and stuff like this, and just kind of like making a lot of mistakes basically. I've been growing it for 5 years, but on the whole, my business had only ever gone up. I'd had a couple of bad months and stuff like that, of course, but on a whole, quarter to quarter, my business, definitely year to year, my business had only ever gone up by that point, right? So by that point, I had this kind of thought and this belief that things would be linear forever, right? I had this belief that, beautiful, I'm on this track and, things are just going to keep going. And what this created, and this is where you might be able to relate to this a lot, right? What this created was a huge amount of anxiety constantly. This constant low level amount of anxiety that was always there, and that was kind of saying to me, do not go backwards. This voice of anxiety that continued to say, do not allow this ship to sink. Do not go backwards. You're going forwards now. Fucking hold on to this. This constant fear that tomorrow everything could just kind of like fall down. And what would I do then? This constant fear of what if everything just stops tomorrow? That was constant. And it seeped into my behaviors and my actions and everything else, right? Every single month, I was so afraid to move backwards. Every single month, I was so afraid to not have my new highest month. So I was so concerned about beating last month's numbers and doing whatever I needed to do in that time to get those short-term wins to be able to beat them numbers. And at the same time, I had no psychological freedom, right? When you really think of it, why do we start these businesses? We start these businesses for freedom, right? And we push hard to get that physical freedom, trying to work wherever you can work, wherever you want to work, and working when you want and everything else. But many people lose their psychological freedom at the same time. Their ability to actually relax, their ability to actually be able to take their foot off the gas a little bit and feel okay doing that. If you don't have that, you don't actually truly have freedom because you're so terrified to take your foot off the gas. And that's what I had lost, right? So I couldn't take my foot off the gas for even a little bit of time. I couldn't work on other projects, that would probably help in the long run, but that would harm my immediate sales in that moment because I was, again, so afraid of going backwards because at this point, everything had been linear. And then the crazy thing is, during this time in Dubai, I won't bore you with the story, it's probably in other videos, but I made mistakes in my business that actually made those fears come true. I made mistakes in the business that actually made those fears of my business going downhill and making less money actually became a reality. And what happened next was about 2 years of the biggest struggle that I've had in business. From going, from making lots of money every single month, things were almost feeling easy at that point. Things felt great. And everything that came with that, to over time, over 2 years, very, very slowly, but over 2 years, slowly seeing that money just coming down and down and down, seeing things slowly dying and breaking and trying my hardest to be able to fix it, but not knowing how. Seeing things go down and having this voice of anxiety, be proven right, and actually having things going down. Long story short, everything did go down to the point where I left Dubai. I actually went to Spain completely on my own for 4 weeks. Just locked myself away. I was smoking a load of cheap cigars on the balcony and just kind of getting my head straight and figuring things out. And, eventually I figured out the problem. This isn't about the problem or anything like that, so I'm not going to bore you with those, but I figured out the problem and things went up again. And things went up faster than ever before. Because here's the thing that you need to understand if you're experiencing this as well. Even if you lost everything tomorrow, you're still the same person with the same skill set that you've built, with the same knowledge that you've acquired, with the same experience that you've now got. You can build things back 10 times faster, and that's exactly what I did, right? So now, after those 2 years, as things started to go upwards again, everything had this completely different experience. I wasn't fearful anymore. I didn't have that anxiety. I finally had that psychological freedom because I had now proved to myself, number one, this shit isn't linear. It can go down, it can go up again. And that's just what happens. That's just life and that's just business. But number two, if it ever did go down, I can sort it out. I have the ability to sort out whatever actually happens. So now I have that psychological freedom to take my foot off the gas. I have that ability to just relax in the business and think clearly as well. Have months where I'm not pushing for beating that last month and everything else. I barely even look at that now, and things just naturally grow. So now I'm on the other side of that dip. It's a completely different experience. And an interesting thing is now, as I was going down, I was questioning my self-worth so much. I was questioning, like, are you any good at this? Like, what's wrong with you? Are you not working hard enough? All of this kind of stuff. But the interesting thing is now, I am on the other side of this going up, and I'm now seeing other people that, naturally I was kind of comparing myself with a little bit, going through the dip where one offer or one thing that they have been pushing that has done great has now almost come to its natural end, and they're going through this dip to be able to come out of the other side with a new idea, reaching new levels and everything else. And I understand now that this is just the way of life. There is ups and there is downs, and sometimes we need to allow those downs to happen, let go of what we've had before, to allow those downs to happen. Stay in the game, stay working, stay figuring things out, but understand that these downs, these lows are natural to be able to get to new heights. So to round this off, before we get into like, why is this useful? Because I know that this is actually quite a different video than anything else on my YouTube, but this has hit me. And there's probably 1 in 10 of you that are going to be watching this and thinking, actually, this is speaking to me. And if that's you, I hope this message has found you, and I hope that it's useful. Probably 9 in 10 of you are thinking, this is shit, and they're going to go watch one of my other videos, and that's cool too. But the two main things here is nothing is linear and nothing is permanent. Nothing's linear. It's not going to continuously go up, and nothing's permanent. The things that we do now are eventually not going to be the things that we do in the future, and that's okay. And understanding that can really, really help as we continue to move forwards. So you might be thinking now, what's the actual usefulness of this? So there's 5 things that I believe this new insight and this understanding and being able to actually integrate this has given me, that hopefully I can illustrate for you, you can see, and you can take away yourself. Number 1 is that sometimes these dips are completely essential. Like, looking back now, those 2 years were created because I asked for more. The way I put it is, I asked the universe for more. I expanded my vision. I asked for more. And I constantly, during those like hard 2 years, I constantly wrote in my journal that the universe is testing me, because I'm asking for more. I'm asking to be more in this world. And the universe is testing me to see if I can be that person. So those 2 years, although they were painful at the time, although they were what would the word be, like humbling at the time, like, dropping down, money, progression, where it felt like progression and everything else. On the other side of that now, where I sit here today looking back, they were essential to get to where I am now. Those 2 years were essential. They gave me the gifts that I now use when I help other people. They give me my unique edge that I now use when I help other people. So understand that, especially if you are going through a dip right now, sometimes they are essential. Sometimes these struggles give you the gifts that you actually need, and potentially the gifts that you're actually asking for. And one piece of advice I'd give you here is, don't hold on too hard to your current reality. One of the things that may have kept me in that struggle longer than necessary is I thought I knew where I needed to go, and I thought I needed to know the exact pathway that would take. Right, so I held on so hard to something that was not working because I thought this had to be the way. As soon as I let go and I felt what was, during this struggle, what was being told to me, what was the signals that I was getting, the path was clear to the same outcome. The path was different, but the path was clear. So as you go through that dip, embrace it, stay in the game. Don't sign off, stay in the game. You have to stay in the game, but also try and hear what's being told to you through the challenges. The second point that this insight gives me, that hopefully it can give you as well, is the understanding that, again, growth is not linear. And when we constantly try and have growth to be linear, month on month, or even sometimes quarter on quarter, it can actually hold us back from that real growth. Last month I made a lot less money than the month before. Back before I had this insight, that would have hurt me. I would be shitting myself. I'd be thinking, what the fuck's gone wrong? But this month I understand the time of the year. I also understand that I'm working on things right now that are going to blast me ahead in the future. And I've taken my foot off the gas of client acquisition consciously and specifically so I can work on these things that I'm going to be able to roll out in the future. So understanding that things aren't linear in terms of numbers, month on month, and allowing that to be the case can give you the space and the time to be able to develop things and structure and everything else to allow you to grow by orders of magnitude. And this year, this has been this has exactly been what I've experienced this year. This year, there's been periods of huge growth in bursts. And then there's been periods when I've took my foot off the gas just a little bit in terms of client acquisition and stuff like that. I've often in these times, I've traveled somewhere else. I've gone to a business event or something and I've kind of assimilated new information. I've solved problems. I've potentially built things. Then I've gone back in, put my foot back on the gas, and things have grown hugely in these bursts and rests and bursts and rests. Third, this is a really practical one, but understanding that nothing is permanent. And what I mean by that is, by the way, like where this came from was the offer that I had before. I was such a perfectionist around everything in the offer, right? In the delivery of the offer and everything, that it would take me so long to actually implement things and do things because I wanted it to be perfect. And now looking back, it doesn't even exist anymore. None of it truly mattered as much, right? And I could have achieved and rolled out so much more so quickly if I'd understood that nothing is permanent. So me now understanding that nothing is permanent, even the offer that I'm running right now, which I love, will eventually not exist anymore. That's just the way it works. It might be in 5-10 years time, but it eventually will not exist anymore. And every single thing within that, even trainings that I put out, webinars, workshops, stuff like that, they are not permanent too. Most of the time in a couple of months, I'll redo something, I'll want to make it different. So understanding that allows me to make decisions quicker, to move quicker, and create and roll things out quicker, which I've seen it for myself. I've seen it across the board. I've seen it with clients. The quicker you can move, the quicker you can make decisions, the better your results are and the faster you grow. Fourth, understanding that nothing is linear is one thing, but understanding that we naturally think linearly is another thing, right? So once you truly understand, okay, nothing's linear, I understand as well that, there's nothing stopping your business from tripling over the next 3 months. Even though it's slowly grown up until that now, there's nothing stopping it from tripling physically. Understanding that and understanding that naturally it's a lot easier for us to think linearly. Understand that as you can start to actually think exponentially and not linearly, you can find solutions to problems much better. What I mean by this is most of the time, especially when we're thinking linearly and we're thinking that it has to be linear, we're thinking in percentages. How can I improve this by 5%? How can I optimize this by 5%? And then we're really looking at our monthly revenue or whatever we're like looking at our business growth from, and we're looking at, cool, I made 10K last month. How can I make 11K this month? How can I make 12K the next month? And we're looking at things in little steps. That keeps us thinking in this linear level, right? And it keeps us moving linearly, or at least trying to move linearly. Instead, think in orders of magnitude. If there's something that you can improve by, in your entire business process, if there's something that you can improve by 5%, where is the thing in your business that you can improve by 5 times? by 500%. You know, what is the big moves that you can make that are not the percentile moves, but they are the exponential moves that can actually make things absolutely fly? And how can you focus more on those exponential 10x moves versus those smaller percentile moves? There's a really good book on this called 10x is better than 2x. It's a really, really good book on this whole concept. And it's a really, really good way to think. And finally, number 5, understand that this is all a game. You know, that's the final biggest thing that has come to me through this, right? I was the same before I'd done anything of note. I was the same when I was killing it in my business. I was the same when it all went down, and I'm the same now. In fact, looking back, I have, improved my ability to communicate, my ability to lead, my ability to teach, my ability to coach. Everything has improved, not only through the good, but also, and probably more so, through the bad, But the core essence, I'm still the same and of the same value, because we all are, right? So understand that if you are watching this video on some sort of device with the internet and your problems are, how do I grow my business? It's a pretty fucking good place to be, no matter how your business is going. So really and truly, this is all a game. And the more that we can look at all of this as a game, the better it will do. The better you can think about it, the more clear, level-headed you can be, the more fun you're going to have, the more magnetic and energetically attractive you are going to be around, the more that you're going to magnetize people towards you, the better everything's going to be. So remember that nothing's linear. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. You're going to have bad months. You're going to have bad quarters. You might even have bad years. Embrace the dips and understand it's all a fucking game. So that's everything. I don't know if that was useful to you or not. This is more like journaling to a video. I don't know if that was useful to you or not. I hope it was. I really hope that the YouTube algorithm that seems to sometimes send videos to the right people at the right time, I hope this video popped up to you at the right time when you needed this. If it helped, I'd love to hear in the comments below that it did. Cheers for watching.